What we're looking at now is the activity set on midpoint and line length, and there's two parts to this. We're only doing part one. You can see there's 8 stages to this down the left hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8, or you can go into the index 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Each of these has got its own heading, and we'll start with number 1. Before we do that, let's have a look at the objectives. Number 1, recognizing coordinate patterns, something we should be familiar with by now, and 2, writing rules and equations for coordinates that fall in a line. So let's begin with the lesson line length from a graph. We have 2 coordinates, 1, 1 and 1, 4. Let's have a look at these on the graph. Here is 1, 1 and here is 1, 4. Click on next. We can connect these with a line. Let's see that line. Click on next. What is the length of this line? Well, it's going up 1, 2, 3 units. Let's have a look. It's the number of squares between the points. It's coming down, but it's the same thing. 1, 2 and 3. Click on next. So the line length is 3. Click on next. We can also say that the distance between the points is 3. Seems fairly straightforward, yes? So let's move on to stage 2. What's the distance between point A and point B? Let's have a look. A to B. I'm going to go 1 square, 2 square, 3 squares. So I think it's 3. Let's type in the 3. And let's mark it. Dead easy, yes? If you want to, you can always try another one, but we're going to move on. Part 3, or stage 3. For points with one coordinate that is the same, the distance between the points is the difference between the coordinates that change. We've just seen that. Click on next. So for example, the distance between point 4, 1, this one here, x is 4, y is 1, and 4, 5, x is 4 and y is 5, is, click on next, 5 minus 1, which is 4. Can you see we've taken away the 2 coordinates out of the y coordinates, taken one away from the other. So the distance between 2, 3 and 4, 3, now 3 is staying the same, it's the x that's changing, so we're going from 2 here to 4 there, is going to be 1, 2, or 4 minus 2, 4 minus 2. Click on next. So what's the distance between 4, 5 and 1, 2? So here's 4, x is 4, y is 5. Here is x is 1 and y is equal to 2. Not as straightforward. Here we can't just count squares because the line that connects them is diagonal. We have to learn a bit more about triangles before we can calculate the distance between them. Alright, let's move on to the next stage then. Here again are 2 points A and B. A is minus 4, x, and y is 1, minus 4 across, up 1, and B is 0 for x and up 1 for y. Click on next. The point M is the midpoint of A and B. It's exactly halfway between the two. So what are the coordinates for M? I think you can see that M is going to be at x is minus 2 and y is going to be 1. Should we try that? X is minus 2 and y is going to be 1. Do we think we've got it right? Let's click on mark it. Yep, we got that one done okay. Stage 5. Here are 2 points A and B. A up the top here, which is 4 along on the x-axis, 2 on the y-axis, and B is going to be at x is equal to 0 on the 0 line, but minus 4 for y. It's gone down 1, 2, 3, 4 in the negative direction. Click on next. The point M is the midpoint between these 2 points. So what are the coordinates of M? Well, I think you can see it's gone 1, 2 across on the x-axis, and then gone down 1 on the y-axis. So it's 2 minus 1. Should we try it? 2 minus 1. Do we think we've got that right? Are we sure? Let's click on Mark It. Yep, we got that done okay. Stage 6. Now we're going to drag these 2 points A and B anywhere onto this grid, and we're going to be looking at the midpoint in these 2 boxes here. So let's look and take A, and we'll put it up to, let's say, 3, 4. X is 3, Y is 4. And we'll take B and move it down to, let's say, that point there, which is minus 3 across and minus 2 down. Okay, I haven't been doing anything fancy with this at all. So how do we go about finding X and Y? Well, I think X is going to be fairly straightforward in this case, because for X, for A, it's 1, 2, 3 across. Do that again. It's 1, 2, 3 across. And for B, it's still 1, 2, 3 across, but in a negative direction. So if you've got 3 negative and 3 positive and add them together, you'll end up 0. So it should be at this 0. X should be 0. What about Y? Well, for Y, A is 4 above the X is 0 line. 4 above. 1, 2, 3, 4. But for B, it's 2 below. So the difference is going to be 6. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get on the same line. Now, half of 6 is 3. So whatever the point is, it's going to be 3 below A, 1, 2, 3, and 3 above B, 1, 2, 3. So it's going to have to be on this line, but also at x equals 0. So it should be at this point. X is 0, Y is 1. Let's just try it. X is 0, Y is 1. So how confident are we of getting this right? Should we mark it and see? How about that? Now I'll let you try some more of your own, but that's essentially all we're trying to do. Stage 7. Now that we understand midpoint on a coordinate grid, let's think about how we can find it without counting squares. Click on Next. It says here, find the midpoints of the coordinates 6, 3 and 2, 5. Well, look, this is 2, 5. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this one here is 6, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. Click on Next. What's halfway between 6 and 2? Think about it for a second. What's halfway between 6 and 2? Let's click on Next to see if you think you've got it right. Yeah, 4. Make sense? If you took 6 and 2 and put them together, you'd get 8, and half of 8 would be 4. Let's click on Next again. What's halfway between 3 and 5? This is the 3 and this is the 5 we're talking about. Well, let's add 3 and 5 together. What do you get? And then divide that by 2. Got your answer? Let's see if you're right. Yep, it's 4 again. See these two lines cross over. Guess what that point is where they cross over. Let's click on Next again. It's the midpoint. Let's click Next one more. So maybe without knowing it, we found the average of the x coordinates and the average of the y coordinates. Essentially, that's what we've been doing. And the final stage, 8. We've got some work to do here. So you can pause at this stage if you like, and you can think about what the answers might be before I show them, and then resume when you're ready. Well, how well do you think you'd done? Did you manage to get all those correct? The easy bit was where the numbers were the same sign, positive, or the same number. So 1 and 1, the average of 1 and 1 is clearly 1. For the minus 4 and the 0, the difference between 0 and minus 4 is 4. Half of that is 2, but of course it's a negative 4, so it's going to be a minus 2, which is halfway between minus 4 and 0. Now with the minus 2 and the plus 11, the difference between those two numbers is 13. And half of 13 is 6.5.
So we've got to be 6.5 from plus 11.
And 6.5 from minus 2. If you go 6.5 away from minus 2, you'll end up on plus 4.5. What you need to do here is draw yourself a number line and count away from minus 2 in the positive direction 6.5 steps, and you'll end up with 4.5. If you start at 11 and count in the negative direction 6.5 steps, you'll end up at 4.5 as well. Hope that makes sense. Let's try one more. The minus 2 and the plus 12, the difference between those two is 14. Half of 14 is 7. So we've got to be 7 away from minus 2 to find the midpoint, and 7 away from 12. Well, 7 away from 12 going in the negative direction is going to be smaller, would be 5, which is correct. 7 away from minus 2 going in the positive direction would also be 5. Again, if you draw your number line and count minus 2, minus 1, 0, 1, 2 and so on, you'll get to 5 when you've made 7 steps. Try it for yourself. And that's all there is to midpoint and line lengths. You're now in a position where you can try the homework task. Good luck.